Study Section 12. English Reading. Introduction. Reading is a regular repeated pattern of sounds or movements. The languages of the world have different kinds of rhythm, determined by features such as stress and tune. However, our main concern is the English language. We shall be discussing in this study section the rhythm of English. However, we will refer to the rhythm of some of our tonal Nigerian languages from time to time, so we could appreciate the difference in rhythm and understand the possible causes of the deviational use of English reading in Nigeria. Learning outcomes for study section 12. When you study this section, you should be able to define and use correctly all of the key words printed in bold. Differentiate the rhythm of English and the tonal Nigerian languages. Demonstrate ability to break utterances into rhythm groups. 1. What is rhythm? As pointed out in the introduction to this lecture, rhythm is a recurrent movement of speech. It has a regular pattern that is usually determined by stress or tune, depending on the characteristics of the language involved. The recurrent patterned movement is often referred to in the literatures as timing. The ideal is that the timing of the regular movement is determined by stress for some languages and tune for others. There are therefore stress-timed languages and syllable-timed languages. While the rhythm of a Nigerian language like Yoruba is known as syllable-timed, English has been viewed by many as a stress-timed language. This implies that the periodic recurrence of movements is supplied by the stress pulses. This results in the stress syllables occurring at regular intervals of time. The succession of stress and unstressed syllables of words in the stream of English speech produces a natural, even fairly regular, rhythm. Wales, 1989. Consequently, the natural rhythm of English is seen as providing roughly equal intervals of time between the stresses when unaffected by factors such as hesitation, in brackets, which may slow down the speaker, or excitement, which may speed him up. In more technical terms, English is described as a stress-timed language because English rhythm has an isochrony based on stress. Hints: the rhythm of most Nigerian languages are syllable-timed, while that of English is stress-timed. Rhythm group or units. The stretch of utterances from one stressed syllable to the last unstressed syllable before the next stressed syllable is referred to as a rhythm group or unit in English. Let us look at the following English sentence to buttress the point. All utterances written together belong to the same rhythm group. Do note the position of the stresses because they determine what words or syllables are packed together to get the typical rhythm of English, which is based on stresses. It is equally good to remember what we learned under sentence stress about stressing content words and unstressing grammatical words in English word groups. That will help in knowing why some words are stressed while others are not stressed. Mary and John are to dance at the show. Mary and John are to dance at the show. Under Mary 1, under John 2. Under dance at the 3, show 4. Based on the stresses, there are 4 rhythm groups or units in this sentence. You must have noticed that the numbers of the syllables that make up the reading unit vary. One has 1, another one has 2, 2 have 3 each. Therefore, in an English reading group, all syllables are not equal. A stressed syllable is generally longer than an unstressed one, especially if the unstressed syllable has a reduced vowel. Now we know some languages such as Yoruba are termed syllable timed, while others such as English are termed stress timed. However, the dichotomous classification of languages into syllable timed and stress timed has been argued against by some linguists. Crottenden, 1986, upholds the theory of stress isochrony in English, but claims that all the syllables in a reading group cannot be compressed to be equal to the next reading group in exact timing, especially if there are many syllables involved. He argues further that when compared with the so-called syllable-timed languages, the classification is not so sharp. This is because all evidence suggests that both stresses and the number of syllables influence reading in all languages, but particular languages have a tendency to give greater or lesser weight to the stress factor. Viewing English reading in terms of isochrony has been argued as a misinterpretation of reading by some linguists. This is because the intervals between accented syllables are more equivalent than equal, and isochrony is rarely produced in natural conversational English. Therefore, it is good to note at this junction that saying all syllables in a reading group will be produced within the same time limit as the next irrespective of the number of syllables in each reading group is not realistic. We can only take the timing as fairly regular, not exact. Stress timing is more valid as a perception phenomenon than it is in precise physical terms in speech production. There have been arguments against the dichotomous classification of languages into syllable timed and stress timed. It has been viewed as misleading since some languages of the world have shown the signs of being both syllable timed and stress timed, e.g. Spanish. English reading is, however, more stress timed than syllable timed. A different approach to the description of English reading was proposed by Bollinger, 1981. Rather than view English reading as a result of stress timing, he views it in terms of the patterns made in any section of continuous speech by a mixture of syllables containing full vowels with syllables containing reduced vowels. What this means is that stress will not determine the boundaries of reading groups, but full vowels. Note, Bollinger argues that English reading is full vowel timed, not stress timed. With Bollinger's theory, the basic unit of reading is a full vowel syllable together with any reduced voweled syllables that follow it. Each reading unit must therefore contain only one full vowel syllable. However, this theory is not as widely accepted as the stress timing theory, which is still used by some linguists as a description for standard English till now. It therefore becomes important to note at this junction that whatever form of description is employed for standard English reading, the reading effect has a lot to do with stressing and unstressing. This is because all stressed syllables contain full vowels. The majority of the unstressed syllables contain reduced (weak) vowels. Though some full vowels occur in unstressed syllables, they are not so many. A major characteristic of the spoken English language is to have strong full vowels in stressed syllables and weak reduced vowels in an unstressed syllables. It is also good to note that when we speak English, some syllables are said longer and louder than others. These are the strong syllables. The ones that are not as long and loud are weak syllables. English combines the strong and weak syllables to have a particular melody. This is called its rhythm. Weak syllables often contain the sound schwa or e. He is the weakest sound in English. It is a sound that is not in many Nigerian languages, so it is often difficult for Nigerians to produce. Let us take a look at the following sentences and their division into rhythm units or groups. Sentence: the man is unfortunate. Rhythm groups: the mansium fortunate. Sentence: Mary is a beautiful girl. Rhythm groups: Mary's here, beautiful girl. Sentence: what are the ladies doing? Rhythm groups: what are the ladies doing? Sentence: see what I bought for you. Rhythm group: see what I bought for you. The words typed together should be read together to achieve the isochrony of English rhythm, which is based on stresses. Each group should be produced equal or almost equal in timing to the others, not minding the numbers of words it contains. Summary of study section 12. In this study section, we have highlighted what rhythm is and established the difference between the rhythm of English and the tonal Nigerian languages and why they are different. We discussed syllable timing as well as stress timing and emphasized that stress timing affects English rhythm, while syllable timing affects tonal languages. This led to the explanation of Nigerian English as having syllable-timed rhythm due to the influence from the Nigerian mother tongues, and Nigerian English not reducing vowels where necessary. We also learned the rhythm units of words. In the English language, the rhythm unit will be a stressed syllable taken along with all the unstressed syllables after it. It is assumed that no matter the number of syllables in a rhythm unit, it should be produced within the same time range as the others. We emphasize that this timing is more perceptual than physical. End of study section 12. Thanks for listening.